Well, like modern exploration. So like you're talking about like the Bering Strait. Yeah. Yeah, those native groups. Yeah. But it's like the modern exploration. All right, so detail a few famous Spanish conquistadors that we discussed in class last week. Then your response, explain the significance of the conquistador, which native civilization they came in contact with, or famous discovery in a new world. So again, someone we mentioned might not have encountered other native populations or try to conquer them. Some just might have explored something, found something, discovered. All right. So there you go. Use your explorer's chart to help you. Laser gun in here. Jeez. Man, oh man. What's up, sir? No way. There's a bunch of boxes here in that drawer underneath the table. You find it? Thank you, sir. Oh, look, it's here. Madison, how was your weekend? Good? Good. Good. Hey, I got a current event for you then on Friday, okay? All right. All right, okay, let's talk about some of these conquistadors. Okay, all right. So, real quick, guys, as you're going through it, again, hopefully you're using your chart here. Hopefully you're using your chart. All right, we're going to continue this chart today as we go through these explorers. I know there's quite a bit of them, but I'm going to grade this towards the end of the topic when we're finished. Okay, I want to give you guys a grade for it. Again, hopefully you guys are throwing in some pictures here, right? Maybe where they explored gives you more of a visualization of where these conquerors went or these explorers, what they discovered, right? Sometimes you might even look up the date, might have to. I can't give you everything. I got to make sure that you guys can use your resources here to find a little bit more of this information. Anyway, so let's get to it here. So what other conquistadors did we talk about? Other one. So Hernan Cortez, there he is. He defeated the Aztecs, right? So Montezuma the second he defeats. And in his search for gold, we mentioned about with the Aztec civilization, it was kind of modern, right? They looked beautiful. It was unbelievable, right? A lot of these explorers talked about the presence of the Aztecs and what they had when it came to their civilization, these massive temples, these huge pyramids, right? And when it comes down to, they even had aqueducts running water literally to their crops. So when it comes to irrigation, it was advanced, very advanced, right? Where did they settle again? Where did they settle, the Aztecs? Where was this at? Naomi. Yeah, Mexico City, right? So Tenochtitlan, that's what they called it. And do you guys remember the story of why they settled there? On the Mexican flag. Go ahead, Jason. People were mistaken on the cactus. Yeah, right. So they mentioned about how when it comes to their gods, they said when it comes to your civilization, we'd like you to settle somewhere where you find this eagle eating a snake on top of a cactus. That's where the civilization should be created. And yeah, that carried over obviously when it comes to Mexico winning their independence against Spain. They're going to apply that imagery, that story of the Aztec civilization to their flag, which is pretty cool. It's the only flag that shows combat needed, right? In the whole world. I thought that was kind of amazing to think about too. All right, anyway, so Tenochtitlan, okay, Mexico City, surrounded by water too. So obviously that's important when it comes to protection. That's something to think about when it comes to the Aztecs. Luna? Yeah, did you make a pass? Make a pass here quick and then okay, I'll get it. All right, so with the Aztecs, there we go. There we go. How did Hernan Cortez defeat the Aztecs? So he was outnumbered. I mean, how did he do it? They, yeah, good job, right? So one thing to note, as a lot of these explorers encounter these native groups, they don't like each other whatsoever. There's constant war, there's constant conflict, and when it comes down to it, right, these explorers, these conquistadors here, they're going to use these other neighboring tribes that rival one another to help them accomplish, right, their conquering, to take over these lands. So that's something to think about when it comes to these native groups. It wasn't just these explorers coming in and wiping them out because they had advanced weaponry. Yeah, they did, sure. But they also used the other native tribes surrounding these larger civilizations like the Aztec and obviously destroying everything that they have to try to accomplish the gold, the resources they need. Obviously, when it comes to the Spanish, especially they're going to use this state to say, hey, yeah, we'll give you resources, we'll form alliances with you, and then we'll actually turn the gun on you. So unfortunately, that's what happened. So yeah, as these native groups are getting taken over again, disease sickness, smallpox was another means for why these native groups got wiped out. That's something to think about common, right, with all these civilizations that are getting taken over by the Spanish. All right, who else did we talk about? Who else? Who else? Jason. Pizarro. Yeah. What do we know about Pizarro? Go ahead. Yeah, he conquered the Incas. Good job. So where's the Incas? Where are the Incas at? Where are the Incas at? All right, Jason, keep going. Like Chile. Yeah, right. So modern day Peru. So down here in South America. So when Pizarro made his way down, obviously as these Spanish explorers are looking, trying to find this connection to the Pacific Ocean, they travel all down these landmass, right? When it comes to South America. All right, so he encounters the Incas, right? So when you think about Machu Picchu, this ancient civilization, he pretty much takes a similar path like Hernan Cortez when it comes to taking over um, these native groups here. So obviously using these neighboring tribal groups, these neighboring native groups here to take over the Incas because they're more established, right? You take out the largest one, well, chances are it's going to be a lot easier when you continue this movement, continue this path, and take over larger areas. So search for gold, like all these conquistadors, right? What about the blankets here that I talked about? What did I mention about the blankets here? Naomi?
They were that they gave them blankets and then they purposely got them sick for chicken pox.
Yeah, right. So apparently, I mean, again, when it comes to sources, they don't really know for sure or for certain. But when it came to trade, right at first, when these conquistadors encountered Native Americans, they're giving them different types of blankets, right? And obviously, these blankets were carried disease, smallpox that the Europeans brought over here to the new land. So as these native groups are using these blankets, well, smallpox would follow and wipe out hundreds, thousands of these native groups. So was it weaponized? Was this an idea about that the Spanish had that they tried it? I don't know, right? That's still debated today when it comes to the blankets. But either way, again, disease, sickness, immune system of the Native Americans was one of the biggest concerns, issues here for right, these populations. All right, anyway, what about Pizarro? What did he do to Atahualpa, the king of the Incas? You guys remember? This was wild. Audrina.
His whole. So,
This whole trial.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, geez. So the story goes, did he behead him? We don't know for sure, right? We don't know for certain. There's a lot of sources out there that says he did, or he strangled him. Either way, he kills the Incan king, right? Either way, he kills Atahualpa in front of the populations of the Incas of the Native Americans. And what does that do? Well, causes somewhat of a civil war here between the Incan tribe. So they decide, who do we ally with? Who do we try to align with? I don't know. And as they're fighting each other, obviously Spain is taking the valuables, the riches back home. And eventually when they wipe each other out, well, obviously the Spanish are going to be still there. So yeah, Pizarro, brutal takeover of the Incas down here in South America. All right, who else do we got? Who else do we got? Who else? All right, Naomi, thank you. Yes, Ponce de Leon. Let's get to this here. What was he famed for doing?
he found Saint Augustine.
St. Augustine? Yeah, good job. And what's the story behind it? What do you remember?
He was looking for the fountain.
Supposedly, right? Supposedly. So when it comes to Juan Ponce de Leon, he's famed for traveling up here north in the parts of the Caribbean islands, the Bahamas, right? Making his way to modern day Florida and sailing the coastline. Anyway, what happens? Well, he establishes the first colony actually here in modern day America. So I know a lot of people say, oh, Jamestown. Well, that's the first English colony, sure. But when it comes to actual first colony, the first, I guess you say, settlement, right? It is actually Spain with St. Augustine, Florida. So yeah, they set up and established a military base, which is still there. So wait, Maddie, you said you were there, right? Yes, that's right. Do you get pictures? You bring them in?
My mom probably has.
Oh, okay, all right. We'll try to find them. That'd be great. Anyway, Ms. O'Neill is there, so she has some pictures. So if you guys get a chance to talk to her, she got to visit St. Augustine, and she talked to you about the Fountain of Youth. So this story where Ponce de Leon was looking for the Fountain of Youth, was it true? Probably not, but right, that kind of gets linked to them. I guess it's a way for these explorers to try to pull away some of the fascination, right? Some of the achievements of these other explorers that came before them. So I guess you can see how this can kind of get a little tarnished in a way. Anyway, so as they tries to find this fountain of youth, right? And St. Augustine, I guess you could say they're ears confused, right? It was sulfur water. It smelled like rotten eggs if you ever smelled sulfur water. It's kind of common, I guess, but it does stink. It smells like stinky forest. Anyway, so Juan Ponce de Leon, he actually traveled with Christopher Columbus, on a second voyage. So that's maybe something interesting you can write down within your chart. So that's pretty interesting. All right, any others here? Go ahead, Jason.
That's gonna be Maine's day.
Yes, what did he do? He was the first one we talked about. Yes, good job. So he was actually before Magellan. I know we talked about circumnavigation before. We talked about Balboa, but Balboa was famous for discovering the Pacific Ocean. So did he find that waterway, that water connection? No, he didn't, right? But he traveled across the Panama Isthmus, this small land here, and the bottom of Central America, starting here in South America. And he walks across the Panama Isthmus, right? And as he does that, he discovers the Pacific Ocean. So from here on out, which we're going to talk more about with the English explorers, their goal is to try to find a passageway that connects the Atlantic and the Pacific. And Magellan does do that, right? But is it where you want it to be? No, he's all the way down here, right? At the bottom of South America. So that's a problem, right? That's way too far down here to find this connection. So they want to try to find something up here, more of a straight shot. And we'll talk about this search for the Northwest Passage more today. All right, good, Balboa. And I think that's where we ended, right? I think we kind of started talking a little bit about Coronado. All right, anyway, here, Francisco Coronado. Here's another conquistador that we got to cut off on Thursday with, and he's famed for trying to search for the 7 cities of gold. All right, so Coronado, he's actually more of this land route too. It's not like he actually sailed around these places, which obviously had to get there, but in any case, he's famed for traveling the most, right, on land in the New World, in modern day United States. So yeah, Ponce de Leon right around Florida. But with Coronado, he traveled deep, deep into the center part of the United States. So making his way to the Grand Canyon, he discovers the Grand Canyon. That's something to write down for Coronado. Right. Also, you can see his travel, modern day Colorado, moving his way all the way here through the Great Plains region. Right. So the Great Plains region of Kansas, of Missouri. Right. So he makes his way all the way out into the center part of modern day United States. So Coronado, famed for this discovery and traveling way deep here into the center part of the United States. All right, one thing to note too is, like I mentioned, is in search for the 7 cities of gold. So when it comes to these myths, these stories, just like Ponce de Leon, are they true? The Fountain of Youth, I don't know about that, but the Spanish were definitely looking for gold. So this was a fabled story, talked about quite a bit, right? And for Coronado, he wanted to be the one to do it. So again, when it comes to spreading Catholicism, yeah, Spain was trying to do that. The glory of it, try to get your name tied to these exploration, but also the gold, let's face it. All right, one of the stories here for Coronado of how he got way out here into modern day Kansas, Missouri, is that as he stumbled across these native tribes, he was saying, hey, bring me the gold. Where's the 7 cities of gold? We're looking for this fabled place. And it was actually smart somewhat of the native groups to say, hey, it's actually way out here. If you continue on this path, across the Rocky Mountains, like, let's face it, that's tough to do, isn't it? Yeah, especially back then. And as he made his way all the way out here in the Great Plains region, was there 7 cities of gold? No, right? So in other words, the native groups tried to pull fast one on him. They thought, if we can get this guy going way deep out in the middle of nowhere, literally, he might get lost, he might get killed, he might run low on food and water, he might not ever come back. So unfortunately though, what is this, huh? This one too. Unfortunately for him, for the native group, sorry, he does make his way back. And well, do you think he treats the native groups great when he comes back? No, he wipes them all out. So on a search for the 7 cities of gold, he doesn't find it, but I thought that was interesting how the native groups try to throw off this course a bit, but he makes his way back and just lays destruction. Oh man. All right, anyway, so one thing to note too here with Coronado is that as he's exploring the center part here, he's looking for this passageway. He's looking for this way too to cut from the Atlantic to the Pacific, just like everybody else. All right, Hernando de Soto. All right, here's another explorer that traveled deep on land. All right, so Coronado traveled more southwest United States, moving up into the Great Plains region. This time here with Hernando de Soto, he travels in the southeast United States. he discover the SEC for college football? No, he didn't do that. Brody, good joke, not misjoke. All right, so anyway, DeSoto, right around the Mississippi River. All right, so when it comes to Mississippi River, that's going to be a huge travel way for resources, materials for the United States, definitely early on, honestly, still to this day. But with the French, they're going to actually have a lot of discoveries here, more out into this Louisiana territory area. Anyway, Hernando de Soto, he travels to modern day Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, and most likely Arkansas. So yeah, these states weren't there. I get it. But when you think about the modern day look, his travel route, that's right around where he was. So he does make his way deep down into parts of Florida too. So we mentioned about Ponce de Leon here on the coastal line, St. Augustine, but he makes his way more on the Gulf Coast of Florida. All the way down here to Tampa Bay. Jeez. Tampa Bay? No way. Okay. So anyway, he makes his way down to Tampa Bay, modern day, and travels this distance, try to look for gold, try to look for riches, silver, you name it. So yeah, there's a commonality amongst all these Spanish conquistadors. Gold, silver, where can we find it? Northwest Passageway? Yeah, you can see where we're going. All right, anyway, so when it comes to his route, he didn't travel near as far as Coronado, but it's pretty darn far, right? And he's famed for traveling these land routes, just like Coronado. It's a little bit different than what we were mentioning before with the exploration out in the oceans, the bodies of water. All right, any questions here? Hernando de Soto. All right, moving on here. Now we're moving to English explorers. So England's not going to sit idle here. No, no, no. All right, so England's going to try to step up the game too. So as Spain is really taking over big chunks of land here in Central America, moving into parts of South America, even North America, holy cow. Well, England's not going to sit idle, right? They're going to step up their game too. So in your explorers chart, here are other explorers, but this time for England. All right, so we mentioned a little bit about England, talking about the what dynasty? What dynasty do we mention quite a bit about? This was wild times, right? After the Wars of the Roses. Jason? Right, the Tudor dynasty, good job. So even a bit before the Tudor dynasty, kind of, right? You can see some of these explorers looking to try to find this Northwest Passage, right? So as Spain is conquering much of South America, Central America, the Caribbean islands, and even modern day Florida, way out even on the Pacific side of California, well, England's trying to do the same thing. Their goal, though, is to try to find this passageway. Everybody's trying to do it, this Northeast Passage, right? So when it comes to these explorers, they're looking to try to find a way to get to the Atlantic to the Pacific quicker and faster. They knew about, well, Magellan's trek here, obviously the circumnavigation was just too far down around South America, right? They want to try to find a way to connect the Atlantic and Pacific. All right, anyway, here, John Cabot, you might have heard of him before, but he was an Italian explorer. Wait a minute, another Italian explorer? Yeah, all right. So why are these Italian explorers, why are they being funded by other countries, like Spain, like England? Why? Why don't they do it for Italy? This doesn't make any sense, does it? Or does it? Go ahead, Amy.
Their whole countries already have trade and they don't need to.
Exactly, right? So Italy has already kind of mastered this trade route here in the Mediterranean Sea. So for them to explore other lands, well, it really won't come about. And that's what holds them back later down the line. Right, I won't mention about Italy and what comes of them here soon enough. But yeah, they already have trade here in the Mediterranean Sea. As these other countries here in Western Europe are expanding out, they're like, we already got this controlled. We're good. We're good. We don't need these exploration. And let's face it, though, they know how to navigate, right? Mediterranean Sea is right here. So when it comes to navigation skills, they're masters of it. So these other countries want some of these Italian explorers. They knew how to navigate. They knew how to use these instruments when it came to traveling way out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So they want them. Let's face it. So when it comes to this agreement, yeah, a lot of these Italian explorers would be picked up by these joint stock companies, right? They would be joined by these companies for exploration. All right, so anyway, what did he do? What did he discover? So he was one of the first explorers shortly after Columbus, right? Just 3-4 years after Columbus. And he discovers more of modern day Canada, moving into the parts of northeastern United States. So this discovery, we all know that the Vikings were there first, but he was there obviously 400 years about after. So when it comes to John Cabot, he's the first English explorer to discover this Newfoundland, even though we know the Vikings did it first. So that's something to know about him. All right, that's going to set the stage for other explorers, though, to try to find this Northwest Passage. All right, so we're looking right around modern day New York City. All right, so Henry Hudson, he sailed for England. He'll also sail for the Netherlands, the Dutch, right? But not to confuse it just yet. For Henry Hudson, he does sail his way over across the ocean as well. And he's trying to find this passageway, which he thinks anyway, gets pretty darn close. So he travels right around modern day New York City. So I'm sure you heard of Hudson Bay before, Hudson River, right? That is what he explored, what he traveled, right? In his search for this Northwest Passage. But as he goes inland, obviously that river is going to come to an end. That bay is going to come to an end. So he thinks he's getting there, but boy, oh boy, does it really stretch further out. All right, one thing to note too with Henry Hudson, like I mentioned, he will travel for the Dutch, the Netherlands. So he's kind of like this person that can be bought up by these larger joint style companies. One thing too about him that I thought was interesting is that his crew members, because they're getting pushed too hard, he was a very successful explorer. Obviously, we still talk about him. His crew members actually gathered him up and some of his loyal captains, so to speak, set him on a lifeboat, push him away out into Newfoundland, modern day New York. And they're like, we're sick of you. We're done with you bossing us around. They put him on a life vessel and just send him off the main ship. And they go back home. So they're like, hey, if you make it, you make it, but you're not coming back with us because you're a jerk. So I thought that was interesting. Many people still mysteriously don't know where his body is, where he went. So it's kind of an interesting story about Hudson. All right, Verrazano, another Italian explorer. All right, anyway, we'll mention about him with France. He explored New York Harbor, trying to reach Asia. So similar to Hudson. Cartier, okay, French. Okay, we'll talk more about the French too. They get to the game a little bit later, but they're searching more the Ohio River Valley. So they're setting up and establishing trade with the natives. So here's a better look. Here's Cabot's travels with his son, actually, which is pretty interesting. So he makes his way just like the Vikings back in the day. Hudson, like I mentioned, when it comes to Hudson Bay, Hudson River, right? Way up here too, right? In modern day Canada, his travel routes looking for that Northwest Passage. Verrazano traveling all the way down the east coast of the United States. So pretty interesting here. And then Cartier, he makes his way deep down the St. Lawrence River, right? Actually reaching close to the Great Lakes. All right, I know we didn't get to them, but we'll talk about Francis Drake tomorrow. We'll mention more about El Draco. The dragon is what the Spanish called it. They're in fear of this guy. This guy was so terrible, especially when it comes to the Spanish Armada. He will help defeat him, but he'll also be the first Englishman to sail around the world. Not like Magellan, he actually makes it. He makes it. So we'll talk more about him sooner or later. All right. Okay. So there we go. Is there any questions? We good? All right.